Hey folks, come on in. As we are getting set up here, I want to go ahead and do a quick introduction to the room and to this topic as people are getting settled. My name is Dr. William Clark. I'm the host of the Nonprofit Funding Tips Room here on Clubhouse, as well as the host of the Dr. William Clark podcast, where we talk about all things nonprofits, particularly in the areas of fundraising, strategy, and leadership. And today, we want to talk a little bit about how to identify the current challenges within your organization and how to navigate through those challenges. This is kind of a spin-off of yesterday's episode where we talked about the five strategy questions as it relates to developing your strategy for your organization in 2022. Now, depending on where you are in the life cycle of your organization, you may have already completed that type of planning and thoughtful leadership on behalf of your organization or with other organizational leaders and stakeholders. For those of you that are new to the idea of planning for the next year, planning for the new calendar year, planning for the new program year, you may have learned some new and interesting things that may have introduced you to the world of planning and strategy as a leader, as a nonprofit entrepreneur, and as someone who is influencing an entire organization and community. So, as a kind of follow up to yesterday's conversation, we talked about the five strategy questions that you want to ask yourself. And the first question is where I want to spend time today. So let me quickly review the five strategy questions that we talked about. The first one was where are we right now? The second question is where do we want to go? The third question is, how do we get there? The fourth question is, what steps do we need to take to get there? And then the fifth question is, by when do we want to accomplish all these things? Now, as we revisit the first question here, where are we right now? I want to kind of dig a little deep here to help you think through how to identify the right questions to ask yourself right now in this current moment and season of your organization. And the reason why this question is so pivotal to you and your leadership and your organization is because the answer to this question, the question of where we right now, sets the tone for how you, as an entire organization, plan out the future and all next steps. So, the first question in the strategy process is an exploration of where are you right now. And when we talk about where are we right now, we're trying to discover the question of what's the current state and status of the organization in this current moment and season. Now, when we ask that question, we're not necessarily looking for all the bad and the ugly within an organization. In fact, when we talk about the right now of our organization, we're actually talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. And that provides a lot of room, a lot of thought room, a lot of strategic thinking room for you to process through all of the context of your organization as it stands right now. So let's kind of go through some examples of what that could look like. You can look at where we can answer the question where we right now from the context of our finances, from the context of the politics, both big P politics and internal small p politics. We can answer that question from the standpoint of performance and programs. We can answer that standpoint from the perspective of leadership structure and organizational design. We can answer that question from the perspective of culture and so many more perspectives to add in there. Whatever the focus is of this particular plan that you're developing right now for 2022, or perhaps you're thinking about a multi year plan, you want to be very targeted with your thinking. Now, if we were facilitating a plan on your behalf and helping you and your team develop a plan, we may look at several topics where we look at finances and leadership. We may look at culture and politics, right? We may do a combination of two or three categories because the time invested will be much greater and it will result in a multi-year plan that will organize the thoughts and the energy of the entire organization. But if you're starting out, if you're a nonprofit entrepreneur, if introducing this idea to your organization for the very first time, then it might be in your best interest just to focus on one particular category that matters. And this particular podcast, over the past several years, has really focused its attention on fundraising. And so let's kind of focus on that, right? So let's focus on the fact that our finances may not be where we want them to be. And to be even more specific, when we're answering this question of where we're right now, you may say that we have not raised enough money to support our worthy cause. Okay, that's a very high level generic statement that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different organizations. For example, depending on the size of your organization, you may say we haven't raised a lot of money to support our worthy cause, and that may mean we raised $1 million, we only raised 750,000. We were supposed to raise 10 million, we only raised 7 million. We were supposed to raise 100,000, but we only raised 70,000, so on and so forth, right? So the specifics are really worked out as you and your team explore that particular statement or response to that question, where are we right now? To help you think through how to process the where we right now question, again, number one, select a category that speaks to the goals you want to focus on in the upcoming year or the next 12 months. And once you select that category and you provide a general statement of what you want to focus on, then you want to stand that particular statement up against something like the SWOT analysis. And the SWOT analysis, SWOT, is simply strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that can stand in your way of you meeting your goals. So let's kind of walk through this example for a little bit. Let's say you had the goal of raising $100,000 in 2021, but you fell short, right? And the general statement is we didn't reach our financial goal, we didn't reach our fundraising goal, and it created a kind of a belt tightening within the organization that was not expected. So that's the current situation that we're in right now. Let me also say before we go on with this example that the right now moment can be great moments. Well, you may have set a goal of raising $100,000, but you might have raised $125,000. Awesome. You're well over your goal and you did well. And so that can necessitate a different type of questions as you go through this strategy process, and it could change the way you approach planning for the next year, which is why it's important for you to understand that your strategic plan and any type of plans you develop on behalf of your organization is a living document. It is a document that is not stoic. It is a document that has a lot to it, and it evolves as things change. So to kind of speak specifically about the challenge of not reaching your goal in 2021, let's do a quick SWOT analysis to kind of explore what that could look like and what it might look like. So we didn't reach our goal and we didn't serve as many as we planned to serve in the community. But what are the strengths of the current situation? Well, we acknowledge that we didn't reach our goal, right? There's an acknowledgement that whatever plan that was in place, that was executed, didn't quite capture all of the things that matter to us, such as donors, such as partners, such as stakeholders, such as revenue sources and pathways, such as other income approaches that could have been achieved. So we do know that the strength that we have is that we acknowledge the plan that currently exists is not strong enough, or we acknowledge that we were just short because we were missing one critical component of the plan that could have made a significant difference in us meeting or even exceeding our goal. Okay, what are the weaknesses of that statement that we didn't reach our goal? Well, it puts us in a situation where we couldn't serve everybody that we planned to serve in our community. Another weakness, some of our partners and funders might not view us as a viable option or viable partner going forward. Another weakness is that we may have had to lay off someone, or there's a threat that we may have to lay off someone, and it could weaken our position even if we were able to make it through this scenario with less revenue. let's do the opportunity. What are the opportunities that exist right now as a result of us not reaching our goals? Well, the opportunity for us right now is that we're able to reevaluate our plan. Let's assume that you didn't reach your goal, which is the example we're dealing with. But let's assume that you did raise some money. Let's assume that you raised 70,000 of the 100,000. So that's a huge opportunity. We were only 30 points, 30 percentage points, $30,000 below our goal. And so if we can tweak a couple of things, we can definitely close the gap next year and perhaps even go above that goal. So that's a huge, huge opportunity. Maybe you learned about an opportunity later in the year that you thought would have been available earlier in the year. So now this late opportunity could be an opportunity that funnels into the new year 2022 and gives you all types of momentum that allows you to jumpstart the planning year and the fundraising year, which is what you didn't have last year. So that could be a huge opportunity that really is a huge win. Now let's finally close out with our threats. Well, the threat is if we don't raise money, if we don't find the resources, we could lose staff members. We could continue to contribute to the suffering of our community. We could put ourselves at risk of losing partners. We could potentially close doors, right? So there are all types of threats you can explore. When you're going through the strategy process and you're developing approaches to solve problems within your organization, you want to think about the problem that you're trying to solve, or you want to acknowledge where you are right now, which is kind of the big picture, the big point that we're speaking to. And as we went through this example, you saw how useful the SWOT analysis could be in helping you and your stakeholders and members of your team think through the process and the journey of answering the question, where are we right now? So my hope is that this gives you some perspective in terms of how to approach planning going into 2022. My hope is that it gives you some idea of how to think about it in a strategic and intentional way, and that it puts you in a position to plan effectively and or to host and facilitate effective sessions for you, your board, your team, and your stakeholders. Before we close out this particular podcast, I want to remind all of you that as you prepare for 2022, some of you may be looking for coaching programs and opportunities to work with someone to help you navigate these waters called nonprofit entrepreneurship. Maybe you're looking for help in the area of nonprofit fundraising, nonprofit strategy, nonprofit leadership. Well, I'm glad to offer you an opportunity to join our family here at Eli Patrick and Co., where we help nonprofits simplify their fundraising approaches without chasing funders. We have a number of products that have been designed specifically for you and your situation. To explore those options, go ahead to my website, DrWilliamPClark.com. Again, it's DrWilliamPClark.com to see what options we have available that may fit your needs, from the master class to help you fundraise, from the coaching, one-on-one coaching, all the way to access to our do-it-yourself library. Those options are available to you at DrWilliamPClark.com. And my hope is that in the new year, we get a chance to work together to help you reach your goals. With that being said, this is Dr. William Clark from the Dr. William Clark podcast. We will see you guys next time. See you, everybody.